Prince Chesri. Long ago, in a kingdom nestled between towering mountains and sprawling forests, there lived a prince named Chesri. He was the only son of King Lorthan and Queen Maelora, and his birth had been celebrated throughout the land. The people of the kingdom believed that Prince Chesri would bring prosperity, as had been foretold by the ancient seers. The royal astrologers saw in the stars a future of greatness for the young prince, a king who would rule with wisdom, strength, and compassion. In the shadows of the kingdom lived a sorceress named Maelora, who had once been a trusted advisor to the royal family. Years before Chesri's birth, Maelora had been cast out by King Lorthan for her dangerous ambition and hunger for power. She had sworn revenge on the royal line, and when word of the prince's birth reached her, she knew it was time to strike. She cursed the child in secret, weaving dark magic into his destiny. The curse was simple, but deadly. When Prince Chesri becomes king, Maelora whispered to the winds, his reign will bring not peace, but ruin. He will lose everything he loves, and his kingdom will crumble to dust. Unbeknownst to the royal family, the curse would hang over Prince Chesri like a dark cloud throughout his life, waiting for the moment when it would take full effect. As Prince Chesri grew, he became everything his parents had hoped for and more. He was a kind and noble young man, loved by the people for his generosity and wisdom. His tutors praised his intelligence, and the knights admired his skill with the sword. From a young age, Chesri had a deep sense of justice, always striving to help those less fortunate and protect the weak. The people of the kingdom adored him, and many spoke of the golden age that would come when he finally took the throne. But despite his outward successes, there was always a strange weight upon the prince's heart. His nights were filled with troubled dreams, visions of his kingdom in flames, his family lost, and his people crying out in despair. These nightmares haunted him, though he told no one, not even his parents, for fear of appearing weak. As the years passed, Chesri's anxiety grew, and though he never knew of the curse, he could sense something dark lurking in his future. Unseen by Chesri, Maelora, the sorceress, watched from afar. Her dark magic had allowed her to remain in the shadows, undetected by the royal court. Though the curse had not yet come to fruition, she was patient, knowing that as long as the prince remained unaware of the threat, the curse would eventually find its way into his life. The kingdom, meanwhile, prospered under the rule of King Lorthan, and when the time came for Chesri to assume his role as crown prince, the entire realm celebrated. Great feasts were held, and nobles from distant lands came to offer their blessings. The crown prince's coronation was set for his 21st birthday, a day that would mark the beginning of his journey to kingship. On the eve of his coronation, Chesri wandered the castle gardens, unable to sleep. The night was still, but an unsettling feeling gnawed at him. As he walked among the moonlit flowers, a soft voice echoed through the air. Prince Chesri, the voice whispered. Chesri froze, his hand instinctively reaching for the hilt of his sword. "Who's there?" he called, scanning the darkness. From the shadows stepped a cloaked figure, her face hidden beneath a hood. Her voice was soft, but there was a coldness to it that sent a chill down Chesri's spine. "I am Maelora, sorceress of the mountains, and I have come to offer you a warning." Chesri's heart pounded in his chest. He had heard of Maelora, the sorceress who had been banished long ago. The stories painted her as a dark force, a figure of danger and intrigue. "What do you want?" Chesri asked warily. "I want nothing but to tell you the truth," Maelora said, stepping closer. "You have lived your life under a curse, young prince. The moment you take the crown, everything you hold dear will be lost." Chesri's hand tightened around his sword. "A curse? What are you talking about?" Maelora laughed softly. "Your father's arrogance condemned you to this fate long before you were born. I cursed you on the day of your birth, and now the curse is nearly fulfilled. Take the crown tomorrow, and you will see your kingdom fall. Defy fate, and perhaps you can save what you love." Chesri felt a wave of anger rising within him. "Why should I believe you?" "You don't have to," Maelora replied. "But when the crown rests on your head, the curse will begin. Think carefully, Prince Chesri. You cannot outrun destiny." Before Chesri could respond, Maelora vanished into the shadows, leaving the prince alone in the cold night air. He stood in silence for a long time, his mind racing. Could it be true? Could everything he had worked for, everything he had dreamed of, be doomed to ruin because of a curse? The next morning, as the sun rose over the kingdom, the people gathered in the great hall for Chesri's coronation. The air was filled with anticipation and joy, and the sound of trumpets echoed through the castle. But Chesri's heart was heavy. Maelora's warning haunted him, and as he stood before the throne, his mind swirled with doubt. The crown, shining with gold and jewels, rested on a velvet pillow before him. His father, King Lorthan, stood proudly by his side, and Queen Maelora smiled warmly at her son. The archbishop stepped forward, ready to place the crown on Chesri's head. "Do you, Prince Chesri, vow to rule this kingdom with wisdom, justice, and honor?" the archbishop asked, his voice carrying through the hall. Chesri hesitated, his hand trembling as he reached for the crown. Maelora's words echoed in his mind. "Take the crown, and you will lose everything." The doors to the throne room burst open, and a group of knights rushed in, their faces pale with fear. "My lord!" one of them cried. "The western watchtower has fallen. We are under attack." Panic spread through the room, and the crowd erupted in chaos. King Lorthan turned to Chesri, his eyes wide with shock. "This can't be possible," he muttered. "The western watchtower is impenetrable." Chesri felt a cold dread wash over him. The curse. It had begun. The enemy was a rival kingdom from across the mountains, a kingdom that had long harbored resentment toward Chesri's people. Their forces struck swiftly, overwhelming the outlying defenses. The timing was too perfect, an invasion on the very day of Chesri's coronation. It was as if they had known the kingdom would be vulnerable. King Lorthan gathered his generals, but there was little time to prepare. The enemy had already breached the outer walls, and their forces were advancing quickly. Desperate, Lorthan turned to Chesri. "My son," the king said, gripping Chesri's shoulder, "we must ride into battle. I will lead the charge, but I need you by my side. This is your kingdom to protect now." Chesri's heart raced. The crown still rested on the velvet pillow, unclaimed. He had not yet taken his place as king, but his people were in danger. He couldn't stand by and watch them suffer. "I will fight," Chesri said, his voice firm. But the crown. I cannot take it, not now. King Lorthan frowned but nodded. There will be time for that later. For now, we fight. Together, father and son led the charge against the invading forces. Chesri fought valiantly, his sword cutting through the enemy ranks with precision and strength. But as the battle raged on, he began to see the truth of Maelora's curse. No matter how hard they fought, the enemy seemed to gain ground. The city was burning, and the people were fleeing in terror. And then, tragedy struck. King Lorthan, in the heat of battle, was struck down by an enemy blade. Chesri watched in horror as his father fell, his blood staining the earth. The curse had claimed its first victim. With his father's death, the weight of the kingdom now rested fully on Chesri's shoulders. He fought on, driven by fury and grief, but the battle was lost. The enemy forces overwhelmed the city, and by nightfall, the capital had fallen. As Chesri stood before the smoldering remains of the throne room, the crown, now tarnished and forgotten, lay at his feet. He picked it up, feeling its cold weight in his hands. You cannot outrun destiny, Maelora had said, but Chesri knew now that destiny was not something he could escape, it was something he had to face. And so, with the weight of his father's legacy and the memory of his fallen kingdom, Chesri placed the crown upon his head. The curse had already taken everything from him, but now, he would begin again. He was no longer just a prince. He was King Chesri, and from the ashes of his kingdom, he would rise anew. The end.